Saudi private schools are not allowed to raise fees during the academic year. Indians can get visas in 3 minutes. Haram train accident. The Makkah court fines Saudi bin Laden group a sum of 2 crore Saudi riyals. The detailed news. Private schools in Saudi Arabia are required to fix their tuition fees a year in advance and are not allowed to raise the tuition fees during the current academic year. The Minister of Education, Yusuf Al-Banyan, has approved the inclusion of these provisions governing tuition fees in private schools. In connection with this, private schools have to register the details like the exact tuition fees, any changes in the fee, and the effective date of the new fee on the Ministry of Private Education website a year before the start of the academic year. It has been informed that no revision in fees will be allowed after that, and a warning has been given that a strict action will be taken against schools that fail to adhere to these norms. A committee will also be constituted by the Ministry of Education, which will review these regulations every 2 years and make necessary changes in the public interest. The committee shall submit an annual report to the minister, including the annual change in the tuition fees, justification for the changes in fees, recommendation of the committee, and the proposed solutions to the potential problems. In order to attract travelers from India to Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Tourism Authority has announced that it will set up mobile kids centers for issuing visas to areas in India where there are no visa centers. 3 lakh people have traveled to Saudi Arabia for tourism and sightseeing in 2022. Saudi Arabia expects 10 lakh travelers from India by 2023. Mr. Al-Hassan Al-Tabag, chairman of the Saudi Tourism Authority, said, "There are now 5 dedicated visa centers, and we plan to open 4 more by the end of this month in cities of India where there are no visa centers. And we will also set up mobile kits for biometrics, so people will no longer have to travel long distances to obtain visas. This will be implemented soon." He also stated that the number of tourists visiting from Gulf countries and Malaysia is high, and they are considered major inbound countries. This also aims to make India the #1 source market for the travelers by 2030. He also said that Saudi Arabia plans to increase air connectivity with India and thereby increase connections with India. Currently, there are 9 direct flights and 10 indirect flights between India and Saudi Arabia. Air connectivity is very important for any country to bring tourists to the country. We currently have 72,000 seats per week on flights from India, and we are working to increase this number soon. With Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia expects 50% of tourists to visit the country, either for business, umrah, or leisure travel. We have recently introduced a 96-hour transit visa for travelers, aiming to increase the number of travelers visiting the country. Getting a visa is important to facilitate travel, and anyone in India can get a 96-hour visa in 3 minutes, Mr. Al-Hassan Al-Tabag said. The Saudi bin Laden group was fined 20 million Saudi riyals by the Criminal Appeal Court in Makkah last Tuesday for negligence and breach of safety regulations in Makkah crane accident case. At the same time, the court also ruled out the need to pay blood money to the relatives of those who died in the accident. On September 11, 2015, 108 people were killed and 238 injured when a crane involved in the Haram expansion project crashed. This judgment of court comes after 7 years. The Makkah court has found 7 defendants guilty of negligence and breach of safety regulations. 3 of these defendants were sentenced to 6 months in prison and a fine of 30,000 Saudi riyals, while 4 others were sentenced to 3 months in prison and a fine of 15,000 Saudi riyals. According to key sources, the judgment will be final unless it is filed again in the Supreme Court following the usual procedures. The Makkah court re-examined the case after the Saudi Supreme Court ordered a retrial in July 2022. Earlier, the Court of Appeal upheld the Makkah Criminal Court's verdict on August 4, 2021, acquitting all the accused in the case. In December 2020, the Makkah Criminal Court released its verdict for the third time, acquitting all 13 defendants in the case, including the Saudi bin Laden group. The Makkah court noted its verdict that the disaster was caused by heavy rains and thunderstorms rather than the fault of individuals. Subsequently, a special committee of Supreme Court decided to cancel all the judgments given by the Criminal Court and the Court of Appeal in the case of crane accident. Based on that, it was ordered that all the cases should be re-examined by a new judicial district, and no judge who had considered the case before should be included in that panel. Thank you for watching. Signing off, Gisha Sridhar from sauditamilmedia.